right, good afternoon. John Wirtz here. With me is Lana Horde and Luis Pedraza. Montgomery County Tea Party. It's December 13th, 1:30 p.m. We are with Judge Wayne Mack, and he is running for the county judge position. And welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, as we discuss, feel free to take up to 5 minutes on an opening, and then we'll go around the table with Q&A. So
All
the
right.
floor is yours, sir.
All right. Well, thank you. So, for those that don't know me, I've served Montgomery County for almost 40 years. This Montgomery County has been my home. It's been my mission. Has been my calling, my heartbeat. I've served the county in very unique capacities. I started as a custodian in the same courthouse that now calls me judge. So, God bless Texas. And I tell people my memoir is going to be from janitor to judge and all the crap I cleaned up in between. In that time, I've served as a custodian. I served as a foreman in the maintenance department, assistant director, um, reserve police officer, um, and now justice of the peace for almost 12 years. And I've been praying about this next step, and I feel like I'm called to do this. My family has been blessed by Montgomery County, and I've done my best to give back. And so I think we're at a crossroads in our county. I think it's time for leadership, integrity, and character to mean something. And this is not about self ambition, because quite honestly, I could have um, probably been the justice of the peace as long as I wanted to be. And so I'm doing this because I feel called to do it. That's about being a steward, about being obedient to what I feel God's giving me the gifts and callings to do. And we have a lot of good things happening in our county, growing, um, development, communities that actually breathe. Driving down here to the Woodlands today, I mean, what a great vision for Mr. Mitchell to have for this community and what it looks like, and as gorgeous as it was coming here. But for me, the enemy of great is good. And for several years, we've had to settle for just good enough. And I feel like that has allowed some division and some broken relationships and chaos, some lack of I guess, collaboration and kind of set a tone for county government. I believe that this position as a county judge is a CEO position. And so, as the chief executive officer, which everyone that's watching this video is a shareholder in, that we should have we should have some things that aren't in place right now. And um, and I realize that there are a lot of people that aren't going to agree about this. I've told people on more than one occasion, I'm not running against the current office holder. I am interviewing for the job, and I feel like um, that it's something that we need to um, be very very mindful of as electing servant leaders. Um, our policies can't be about sound bites. Can't be about anything less than what's doing the right thing when nobody's there and nobody's looking. So during this campaign, I'll draw some contrasts. I will talk about um, what I want to be, but Montgomery County doesn't need more slogans. We don't need more sound bites. People waving the banner of faith when the cameras are rolling and then abandoning those principles in moments when leadership um, and we think nobody's looking, but we know God is. And so I think integrity matters. I think accountability matters. I think transparency matters. Character matters, and and integrity must be the baseline for the requirement for the people that are leading us. It should be. It should. It should matter, and faith in leadership isn't always about the words we say, but it's what we do. So I can tell you with absolute confidence that I will continue to be the servant leader I've been, and I believe that servant leadership unifies. It doesn't look to take credit. It looks for results, and that is the contrast that I've decided my heart in this. So uh, where there's people, this we need to be united. Elected officials and department heads should have an environment where they feel valued and where people, not politics, drive decisions, and where collaboration replaces conflict, and where vision for our future. Our county is growing, and we should have an ROI mentality. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And thank you again for coming in, filling out our questionnaire. Let me reset this timer. In the questionnaire right up at the top, talking about what your goals are, what all you've done in the past. You had indicated increasing court operations and efficiency. And I presume that's what you want to do going forward with this new position. What did that mean in your old position as far as increasing court operations and efficiency? Because that can translate into time saved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Hiring less people.
Yeah, and I think it even goes back further than when I took office. When I became the director of building custodial services in '95, it was they separated the building services department from the maintenance department with the intention of privatizing that. And I said that, hey, that's great if that's what we do, but let's do the math on this, let's do the numbers, and let me run this like a business. I became the first department, John, in Montgomery County to have a mission statement. I became the first department in Montgomery County to have a computer management software program where we counted everything and we determined um, we did an ROI. And of course, I didn't even know what it meant back then, but we did that, and um, we took that mindset, and I brought that same mindset when I was elected to this position, and we improved efficiency. We brought court management software in place where I'm a firm believer if you can count something, you can measure it. If you can measure it, you can improve it. And I applied that to my entire career regarding that. And so we brought a lot of efficiencies and volumes, and justice courts are the highest volume courts in Texas. Um, and and we, that mindset of an ROI, return on investment, for not only my staff, for my time, but for the taxpayers, ultimately the best.
Okay. Thank you. Luis?
So this kind of has more to do with transparency, and let me frame the question. In 2024, this is voter integrity,
Okay.
transparency. So, and you may not be totally aware, but I want to ask you what you think, and moving forward, how will you look at this? So, in 2024, a information request is submitted for a database. Hart InterCivics does the voting machines for Montgomery County. We submitted a information request. We were granted. The county said no. The attorney general said yes. Hart InterCivics sued the county and attorney general, and not to release a database. And then a lot of stuff happened in between. And so the county wound up, especially in the office of attorney, the county attorney decided to support Hart InterCivics in this. So the whole purpose of the database is to, if somebody manually added votes, that's the only way you can do it. It's the only way you can figure it out. So we wanted to see if there was ever a manual entry for the 2024 primary. So transparency wise, I think that's a transparent thing. I think the citizens have a right to know that, but the county's been fighting us.
Really?
Yes. So, and so my question, I guess, is what do you think about that? And what would you do different? What would you do to help with that? Because to me, that's a core problem.
Oh, well, election integrity, as you know,
That's right.
is where, think about where we're at right now, and the fact that people do not have confidence and trust in the system. That's terrible, and so I'm disappointed to hear that. I was not
Yeah,
aware
it's
of
not
that.
real publicized.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed to hear that because transparency should just be at the bedrock of everything that government does, um, and transparency so that it's it's so clear that it's simple.
Right.
That because if we lose election integrity in Montgomery County, or the perception
The perception of, right.
that that disenfranchises voters. And as you all know, in this room, you know what that looks like. You know how voter, so goes Montgomery County, so goes Texas, and there's a reason why statewide come here. And so I'm sorry, I'm disappointed to hear that, but I can tell you, uh, should I be honored to be in this position, transparency there will be no shadows in the county judge's office. There'll be no shadows.
Well, and hard intercivics issue is that if they release this database, there's software, there's information, but really it's just a data, it's just a count database. So we feel very strongly that it really is a transparency issue. And so, but Hard Intercivic's a huge company. They have lots of resources, if that means anything.
Yeah.
But I'd really like for you to understand, we really want transparency, true transparency. So we're fighting for that, all of us.
Well,
Anyway,
and so I would tell you that if that was a fight, that that I would be right there on the front lines with you, because I think, again, the integrity, character, voter perception, of what that looks like. And I would like offline, when John's not timing us, I would like to have a greater in-depth conversation with that, because I'm disappointed. I don't know how I missed that. So there you talk about counting. I got 22 seconds, but yeah, I would like to offline continue this conversation if you're okay with that.
yeah, no, I am. Kristen Plaisant is really the expert on it. She did all the legwork. She's like an attorney, but not an attorney. If you know.
Actually, I'll start timing Lewis. But
So I got 2 minutes.
yeah, because actually, I want to ask you, what would you do? I know you said you're with us, but as a judge, and I'll give you an extra 2 minutes on that, because I'm kind of following on to this. What would you do if that came up and the county attorney, BD, Griffin, says, no, we're not going to comply, and we're just not going to comply? But what would you do as a judge or commissioner?
So what I can tell you is that a great predictor of the future is the past. And when I was threatened by atheists to be sued because I allowed prayer as a part of the opening ceremony in my courtroom, the county attorney's office actually advised me to not do that because we were going to be sued. And I politely informed them that I appreciated their input, but the entire third floor of that building was dedicated to the county getting sued for doing the right thing. And I felt like I was on the right side of the Constitution, and I prevailed. It took 9 years and almost 3 federal lawsuits, 3 different type of federal lawsuits, to prevail at the Fifth Circuit. But I will stand on the side of the Constitution. Yeah, I think I've proven that. I mean, there's atheists are mean. In fact, they still tell me to do stuff to myself on social media that's not biologically possible. But I took a stance. It wasn't that we're adverse. They were our attorneys, and they were advising, if you continue to do this, you'd be sued. And as I've stated, I felt like that's what the county attorney's office there is, to protect us, not protect the county. We the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's he that office, and we're blessed, and I have a great relationship with BD. So please don't anybody take that to mean anything other than this. But I can tell you, you asked me this question, and I can tell you that I will I will do what I feel is the right thing to do, even if it's not popular. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Okay. Lana?
My voice is not as loud as yours. So my questions will be sort of on that same line about um, the transparency, but they're going to be a little more related to the ROI part of it, sort of
Mhm.
like willing to doge county government. And you said yes on that question. I was very excited about that because we really do need that ROI approach to everything we do so that we are the best steward of the taxpayers' dollars we
Yeah.
can be.
Yes.
And because eventually we hope to get rid of those property taxes or at least
Yes.
significantly reduce them. So we got to go on a diet before we can accomplish the final objective.
Yes, ma'am.
And so on the Doge side of it, one of the things what ideas you might have to bring efficiency to the county government the way you did to JP1 Court, if you have already been percolating on that and have some solid ideas of what might work. And then two, there was the question under that was, would you support an independent expert group outside the commissioner's office scoring and awarding engineering designs to the most qualified firm? And so we probably didn't do the best thing by making that a yes, no question, because the point should have been, um, we have a number of service-based contracts that have always been no bid. And it's that way in lots of counties in Texas, engineering, legal, there's just a number of things that are no bid. So, and we've done analysis of those donations to campaigns from the same firms by commission district, and then awarding of no bid contracts by the same firms by commission district. And there shouldn't be a correlation, but there is. And so that's disturbing. John has done a lot of data research on that for years. It's what we call the iron triangle. It exists in every county in Texas. It's inevitable when the legislation says that these no bid contracts can be awarded. So we ultimately have a legislative problem to fix. But what do you think could be done in our county? This was an idea, was, hey, if we just had an independent firm go out and check to see if they were picking the right people that was most qualified.
Yeah,
That's where that question came
I've got a
from.
great answer for that.
Yeah, and so I wanted
which
to,
I couldn't include in the, because
Yeah.
it was yes, no.
no, exactly. I think that was an error, and it would have been my error because I made the form and I should have made it a short answer or a long answer instead of a yes, no. But I wanted to explain the background so
Sure.
you had context, because I'm hearing in you your willingness to do that kind of thing, but I'd love to hear how we could do it
Sure.
in the absence of the legislation to change it statewide.
Yeah.
What can we do here to make it a little more accountable?
Okay. So I got 2 minutes for both questions.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
okay.
up to John.
Well, so let's
Let's
talk.
see what the
It's
floor
more or
says.
less.
So let's talk about the Doge thing.
Yeah.
I support any effort to increase transparency and find waste and inefficiency and make county government more efficient. And I feel like as county judge, it's a responsibility of that office to ensure we protect public safety, essential services, and manage tax dollars, as we've said, with an ROI mindset. And efficiency is critical, and but so is preserving the functions that keep our community safe and strong. And I'm a firm believer that there are three primary functions of government: public safety,
Right.
infrastructure, and managing the dollars that 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 the citizens of this county give their blood, sweat, and tears for us to have those essential services. And so my answer to that was, because there was no way to explain that.
Sure.
Obviously, so what my answer is this: is I support transparency, accountability in how we award engineering work. Montgomery County has professional engineers within Commissioner Court's offices, as well as a county engineer department. And if there's a need to improve the criteria to add more transparency, I'm open to that conversation. But the final decision still must remain with the elected of that commissioner's court, who know their precincts and know the accountability. But I think, again, is that effective communication. I promise you, under Judge Wayne Mack County Judge's office, I will never be the smartest person in the room. I will surround myself with people. On the trail, I met a retired engineer, and I think it's ExxonMobil, and his resume And he said, and as we were talking our conversation, he says, if you get in this office, I'm not looking for a job, but I have some great ideas, and that's what I'm going to be open up to. This is about service. This is about being a servant. This is not about power for me. Um, the fact that I'm blessed for the last 12 years for people to call me judge, that's not my identity. My identity is I'm a servant of Jesus Christ, and I want to serve, and I want to serve well.
Yeah.
Was that?
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
I'm sure you're aware of the budget, what the budget has been, what it is, or do you know what those numbers are?
So I know that it's almost $600 million, and that makes us one of the largest budget corporations in the county. I know that it has gone up approximately in the last 10 years, almost 40%. But as a taxpayer, I would wonder, um, are there 40% more police officers? Are there 40% more roads? Are there 40%? And I realize cost of living and all these things, and the commissioners doing what they're doing and advocating for the roads, and the commissioners. I mean, they, unlike the county judge's office, they have day-to-day operations, and they know what their precinct needs are, and we know that they estimate, the experts, I'm told, estimate there's $2 billion in infrastructure that we're behind on. And that's just maintaining what we have in place, and so a long answer to your short question is I know that it's a lot of money, but again, under a Judge Wayne Mack County Judge office, every dollar will have a name, every dollar will have a purpose, and that's how we rein this in. This is how we need to eliminate the burden. The homeowners that are watching this, they're we call them homeowners, but we're all renters because the property tax is. And I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. The only debt I have is my house, but if I paid it off today, I still have to. The amount of money that we pay in taxes, and so yeah, we got to fix that. Texas does so many things well, and we should be leading the nation on what that looks like personally.
So I guess this is more of an overall question. If you get elected, first of all, part of the problem with politics today is to get elected takes money. It simply does. And the problem with that is people that want to get elected do favors for other people, similar to the contractors and stuff like that. So my question is, who's kind of financing you, and how do you not fall into that trap?
Yeah.
Okay, because getting elected is one thing, and then staying elected is another. So I don't know, how long do you want to do this job? And I'm concerned that good people sometimes fall into the trap of chasing the money.
Sure. Yeah. So this is what I can pledge to everybody that sees this and everybody in this room, is that my service will not be based on me getting reelected. My service will be based on me doing the right thing every day. And yes, I have people that have donated money to my campaign. I know I'll be outspent. I don't have $1 million to spend to this, but mine is grassroots. We had 800 plus people show up at our announcement a week ago. I've averaged 800 to 1,000 people every year at our prayer breakfast, and so this will be a grassroots, and you'll notice I'm going to receive endorsements, but in my entire career of being in office, I've never asked one person for an endorsement. I've received them, but I haven't asked for them, and I've called and asked people for money because it takes money for a campaign, but in doing that, it's not gonna change how I serve. And so, if if you like the way Donald Trump uh, does this now, unfortunately, I'm not Donald Trump, so I can't donate my salary back to the taxpayers. I wish I could.
Be nice.
That would be nice, but I will every day do the right thing and work in collaboration with elected officials and department heads and the commissioners court. We there will be um, a call for ROI and everything, and SWAT every operation,
Mhm.
every operation. So we will know what our strengths are, we will know what our weaknesses are, we will know what our opportunities are, and we will know with a surety what the threats are. And I think a threat, as you talked about, is a perception of lack of transparency. That's not that shouldn't happen in America. It certainly shouldn't happen in Texas. Period.
Can I just ask a quick question on top of what you asked? And it kind of follows on as far as the salary and stuff. In light of the census data showing an average Montgomery County taxpayer salaries around 40, 50,000, what salary would be appropriate for you?
So I think
You never said an amount, but
yeah. So I think commissioners' salaries, county judges' salaries should be reasonable, should be transparent, should be aligned with taxpayers' realities, and any adjustments to that should be publicly discussed and should be consistent with what we're doing for other county employees.
so do you think reasonable is, you know what they're making right now?
Can I be totally honest with you? I have no idea. I don't even, I know that I think the county judge makes less,
Right.
but I really, I don't know what the commissioners make. I in my working for the county, I'm not the guy that goes around and compares notes. I don't.
Yes.
So if you put a gun to my head right now and say how much they make, I'd have to say pull the trigger because I have no idea.
Okay, we'll swing back around to that in a minute. So,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Keep us in suspense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
dangerous, and now we don't know what the answer is. Two more of the questions I wish we had long answers for. I'm going to address those, right?
Okay.
So there were, and we'll probably have time for one more question. So if we don't get them both, that's fine. Bond issues. So we had asked, would you agree to provide detailed descriptions associated with costs and I'm guessing impact studies that justify the need for the bonds? You said yes. That's very, very transparent policy. Love that. Do you prefer to have bonds, saving accounts for large projects? Again, the Dave Ramsey's coming out.
Yeah.
My husband's taught it for years. We have a mason jar full of cut up credit cards on the mantle.
You
Yeah,
really-
he drank the Kool-Aid. I mean,
Yeah.
he's total Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
So love to hear that. The one that you answered no to that I'd like you to explain a little bit, because again, I think the purpose of the question was to propose one of the solutions that might reduce bond issue passage
Mhm.
and make it more accountable, which was the idea that if you required a super majority vote to approve bond elections, that everybody needs to agree before we put this to the taxpayers. It might reduce the number of times we'll go into the ballot box to decide to go into debt again for the county. So your answer to that was no. So I'm sure there's a backstory.
Yeah, there is.
So tell me why.
So where I couldn't put it in is
Yeah.
before I answer this question, could you please clarify
Sure.
what you mean requiring a super majority to approve bond election? Were you referring to a higher voter approval for passage, or are you
Oh,
referring
yes.
to the threshold of commissioner's court putting on the ballot? So
Right.
because I didn't know what that question was,
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody to read into
John
that.
will have to clarify because you did the polling for question counts. So what was the intent there?
Well, basically, super majority is 2/3, right? So it's putting it on the ballot. I think it's a majority.
Of the court.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I was
And-
confused about the question. Was the court putting it on the ballot, supermajority, or was the a voter approval supermajority?
Yeah.
Because obviously
I kind of guessed it meant with the vote of the board of the county commissioners and the judge be more than a majority. That's
Yeah.
what I guessed it meant.
Yeah.
But I don't want to assume
To
that.
approve bond, yeah.
So
y'all would probably be more on this than I am, but I can't imagine the commissioners in the county judge's office um, wanting to put a bond that 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 the commissioners didn't want to be on there, um, and then that's why my answer to the question was no, because I didn't understand the context of what you were asking. And so again, statutorily, I don't y'all probably know better than me what is a majority past the vote, as I know. So if that needed to change, obviously that would have to happen in Austin at the legislature.
Yeah, and I don't really
Um,
think we were talking about at the
okay.
election, at the voter booth so much
Yeah.
as to get it on the ballot.
Yeah.
Is there a way to put some barriers to entry to get it on the
Yeah.
ballot that are more reasonable? Like more than 3 out of 5 would agree.
Yeah.
You know, so that a majority would be 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
So a super majority, I guess, would be 4 out of 5.
4 or 5.
Or something like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
just a common sense approach to making it harder to get it on the ballot.
Yeah. And my hope and prayer would be that the 4 commissioners and the county judge that we have there are not going to, I mean, in putting it on the ballot, I think ultimately it should give the voters the right to choose the indebtedness. Thank goodness that they can't just vote 3-2 to, create $1 billion bond for everybody so that people get to speak into that. But I can see where a supermajority from a fiscal standpoint would be helpful as far as I think a bond should be the last resort. I think it should be our first thing we go to. But again, we are one of the fastest growing counties, not in Texas, in the nation. And so there's some infrastructure things and some needs that we kind of been kicking the can down the road. And so, I tell people we get what we pray for, we get what we vote for, and we get what we pay for. And there's some hard decisions ahead for this county when it comes to infrastructure. I mean, you've heard all the talk about needing more jail space. I do PTA promise to appear and KPS warrants for all the justice courts 7 days a week. And we're doing the PTA stuff 3 times a day to try to keep the numbers down. In fact, my 3:01, my alarm will go off on my clock to check to see if there's any that have come in since this morning. New courthouse. It's what's there is. But again, it comes to leadership. I've worked for the county when we built the Keyshan building and the Allworth building and the Sadler building, and I was in maintenance. And when we built the across the street, we told them, said that needs to be a 5-story building. Well, they only built 2 stories, and we said, well, just build it, and then we'll build it out later. What would that have looked like? The cost. But again, having a corporate mindset, a corporate culture of a bottom line, and they didn't do it because they were afraid that would get them unelected. We got to do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do. And had the buildings downtown, and my boss at the time, we were invited to a planning meeting. We never got invited back. And so, and it ended up being a 2-story building with residential cooling up on the top. And yeah, did they get everybody in, and did they bring it under budget? Sure did. But what would downtown Conroe look like right now had the county built 5-story or 6-story buildings? And at the time, did they? It's a visionary thing. It would have been the right thing to do because we knew what was coming, and now we're landlocked. And I know I think it was 1994, Sheriff Guy Williams asked for a security assessment, and the U.S. Marshals came in. And I think the first 2 things on the U.S. Marshals list was to knock it down and start over. And that was 94. Here we are.
Let's move along here, and let's get back to the salaries. Should the commissioners or judge make more than the governor?
John, you're setting me up on this one. You really are. And I say this because you're looking at somebody that went to work as a custodian in 1986, January 2nd, 1986. And in my career with the county, I've never asked for a raise. I've never asked for a promotion. All those things have come to me, but I tried to grow where I was planted. Um, and so for me to be on video to say um, that I feel like they should. I guess if the commissioners had a mansion and had a plane and had the bandwidth that would, but I don't think we're comparing apples and oranges here. What the county commissioners do on a daily basis, um, and and during storms and mobility and keeping our roads and funding the essential functions of our government. Um, but you know, I'm not trying to step around the question. It's just, this is, you got to see my heart on this. I've never asked for a raise or a promotion, but yet all those things have come. So John, I would not, I wouldn't really need to think about that question because I, I, I love what I do, and some days I would do it for free. Yesterday wasn't one of them. And I know the commissioners love their jobs and what they do, and I believe they do it well. And so, yeah, that's my answer.
Okay.
Are you going to tell us what the salary is?
Yes.
We're all wondering now.
I don't remember it.
Governor's salary is 153.
Yeah.
Commissioners make north of 200.
Really?
But y'all know that. don't you?
I remembered.
I heard north of 200, but I had no frame of reference for the government.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question's around, well, first of all, on the courthouse, do you support the courthouse? Because there is a real need.
Do I support the courthouse? Define that.
A bond election to spend somewhere $200 to $300 million for a new courthouse system.
Do I support us getting a new courthouse? Yes. I do support us getting a new courthouse because we can't, what the judges are doing, most of them are doing the Office of Court Administration for the state of Texas. Every one of our judges is doing what 2, 3, 4, and 5 courts should be doing as far as the number of cases. And so, but you got to have a place to do business, and the conditions of that building, and security, fire suppression, all the things that are lacking in that building, we're vulnerable right now. So I would support putting it to the taxpayers, but giving them options. This is what this looks like. This is what this looks like. What do you want to pay for it? And understand that there's no magic money tree in the backyard of county government. It's gonna cost money to do that.
That kind of wasn't my question, but can I ask another one? So zero-based budgeting, okay? So that is something that, like the county has said that they've done zero-based budgeting, but when you really look at the numbers, it doesn't feel like zero-based budgeting. So I'd like to understand your budgeting philosophy from one year to the next, because that's how, you talked about a 40% increase. Well, that's how you do it. You creep up every year.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do is really control every year. And so budgeting philosophy is really.
Yeah. So again, the basic philosophy is this: is every dollar has a name, every dollar has a purpose, and you ROI that, and you SWAT that. As a department head, I think one of the reasons I had such a great relationship with the Commissioner's Court is I never went into Commissioner's Court asking for 5 of something, hoping I got 1. I always presented my need to them. And I would come to them and say, this is what we need. And so I think creating an environment where electeds and department heads can come in and have that honest, transparent conversation that this is what we need. This is what the return on the investment looks like. These are our strengths, our weaknesses. These are opportunities. These are our threats. And that mindset, and make it about policy and not politics. I think don't you think that would be refreshing?
It would be. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I was looking at the number because I wanted to put it in frame of reference. But I wanted to go back on that salary issue because that was very surprising to me to hear that our commissioners make that much more than the governor. So from the CEO standpoint, talking about a $600 million budget to manage as CEO
Mhm.
versus a man who manages, what is it, the 8th or 9th largest budget in the world, the state of Texas. Should those salaries be more in line with the responsibility? Again, and back to that question that we had about, there was also a question there about, do you think the salary increases for county commissioners over the past 10 years have been equitable in light of salary increases for other officials? So with that new data on the table, would that change any of those answers? I mean, what are your thoughts just having heard that? Because I was surprised.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a chart that showed the steepness of that curve over the last 10 years, how quickly it's raised year over year. And does it bear any resemblance to like COLAs or what the rest of the county, how much of a bump they're getting every year at their jobs in the private sector and everywhere else. So again, those correlations would make more sense to me if we could say that this got so high because it was staying consistent with local data. But again, I don't know that data. And I think it's worth giving you a chance to address it now that you know what those numbers are.
Yeah. So yeah, and but this is the other, so this is what you need to know as we've talked about, as I've tried to portray my heart to y'all and folks as we watching this is public service is I don't believe you're in it for the money. I don't believe that public service should be public service. And I think I don't. Do I think that elected officials should be accountable, and should they what they do be able to justify that? I until just now I didn't know there was that much of a difference in that salary. So I'm in my heart and mind I'm kind of unprepared to say. And then the other part of this is, we got 4 commissioners that I see the work they do. I see when they answer my phone call, and we're in the middle of something, and they're there, and so I don't. Again, it's what John said earlier. When you compare what the governor does and what a commissioner does, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to compare numbers with the fact that I realize that's the governor's salary, but y'all know, and we all know that that's, if you add out everything, I'm sure it's much more than that when it comes to the fact of the things that would be in the governor of the 7th, 8th largest economic power in the world. I don't think that's a I don't think that's a I don't feel that's a fair comparison. And I think the other part of this is if the citizens of Montgomery County do not feel my salary, or commissioner's salary, district judge's salary, or the county judge's salary, any elected position in the county, if they don't feel that that's a fair salary, then fire them. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not.
I just wanted to give you a chance to revisit it because
Yeah.
new information came on the table.
Yeah,
That's the only reason.
Yeah, and I can honestly tell you I didn't know that what, because I'm not the person that goes down the list doing that.
Sure.
I'm just not.
This-
And my faith teaches me that a workman is worthy of his hire.
4 minutes.
Okay, we
Yeah.
got about 5 minutes.
Good.
Okay, you had mentioned in here that you had launched a chaplaincy program that includes every faith community in Montgomery County.
Yes,
Does that include Islam?
it does. We have every mosque, temple, synagogue, every church you can imagine, because what I was doing was getting on the worst days of people's lives, and a lot of people have their faith, but they're not practicing. And so, to honor their wishes, we wanted to have access to not only the major religions but the minority religions in our community, to for those crisis moments. Because up until January this year, um, every in my precinct and throughout the county, we did rotations. Every homicide, suicide, traffic fatality, natural death, um, any just death in every form. Um, when you're having to be on those scenes with families, being able to get them the help they need, and so having those relationships with those communities to be able to direct people to get and the science shows us the quicker that you can insert hope into a traumatic situation like that, the less likely the long efforts of post-traumatic stress and so forth. And so that was the intent behind that. It took me a while to get there because a lot of the minority religions are very skeptical of government, and so a judge coming to them saying, "Hey, would you be on call? Would you be available?" It took us a few years to get there.
So you believe that Islam is a religion? Yeah. Is that what I'm hearing?
That Islam is a religion?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now, do I believe their ideologies as there are in Christendom and in every other major religion in the world that are I think we're as a nation, we got two wars going on here and throughout the world. That's a red war and a green war. And the red war being Marxism and the green war being Islam that comes into these countries and they don't simulate. And all the Sharia law and all that stuff. As a nation, I believe in the freedom of religion. I do not believe that you can hide yourself behind that and destroy a nation. And we're seeing what is happening throughout the world, what the radicalized um, Islam Islamic faith is doing throughout the world, where Christians are being murdered, and not only Christians but other Muslims. I mean, if you're a Muslim, you're more likely to die from a radicalized, persecuted, and they don't simulate and they come in, and so I believe that's an issue. I think it's something we need to all be aware of.
Think it's radicalized or activate?
You'd have to clarify that for me. What you mean by that? Because I don't want to read into what your words are, John.
Radicalized almost seems like, oh well, they have an epiphany and they're gonna just go against Western culture just because somebody put something in their head, or activate something that's been in their head and they're waiting for the right moment.
Well, I think all you have to do is go to Europe, go to Australia, and know what the difference is, because it's
We're going.
yeah, and you'll there'll be no question in your mind.
Quick comment on that though. The Islam religion says that you have to convert everybody over to their religion, and if you can't, that they should rot in hell kind of thing. That's really what. So that's a big difference in most religions. If I'm a Catholic, I'm not trying to get this Baptist to be a Catholic. I mean, I'm going to try. Okay, well, let me find a Baptist. So I think Islam, and I think there is a subtle difference, and you have to be real careful. Their core beliefs are that you convert people over, and if you can't convert them, they're not worthy of living. And so that being said,
The concept of jihad.
yeah. So to me, that's a very
You
fine, not fine line, but just I don't like it.
William Fetter, who I was just with a few weeks ago, got a great book about this, and so I'd encourage people to look at William Fetter and what's being said about this. I was with Charlie Kirk twice this year. One was at his pastor's 25th anniversary, and Charlie talked about this. But then I was also at his last Faith Forward conference in California, and they're talking about this because there is we're seeing what is happening, and um, and and we have to we this nation was founded faith, family, and freedom, um, and there are parts of Islam and other religions that don't believe that.
Right.
They don't believe in faith, family, and freedom. They don't believe in simulation. And you know what's we you move to Japan, you don't become Japanese, and you move to Germany, you don't become a German. But everyone that moves to America becomes an American. And that's a gift. It's what our founding fathers intended us to be, that city on the hill. And we've got to understand that, and we've got to get back to that. But we also have to protect that. And I'm all about people having their freedom of religion. But our Constitution doesn't guarantee you freedom from religion. It guarantees you freedom of. And I'm good with you coming here with your ideas and you practice your faith. And if your faith is you don't have faith, that's your faith. But I am 100% as a nation. And what we're seeing that's happening in Europe, it's happening in Australia. I was just with a pastor last week um, that he is thinking about leaving Australia because it's not what it looks like, and the government is okay with canceling churches and bowing down to this, not simulating.
Okay, well, we're at that point now. If you want to take up to 5 minutes on your closing, and then we'll call it a wrap.
Well, I won't take the full 5 minutes, but I will talk about the fact that what we're going to see in this campaign is I hope that for the record, I want people to know, and I want to make it clear that I intend to run this race from a perspective that my faith matters to me. And it shapes who I am. It's how I've led. It's how I've treated people. Um, I refuse to sacrifice that for politics. Romans 20:12 and 17 says, never pay back evil for more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone will see that you're honorable. And I think we've got to bring that back. And that's the standard I'm choosing. Not because politics demands that. It's because it's what God expects of me. And so as you see this race unfold, you may see two approaches. Um, and you'll see this in many campaigns. That some operate out of fear, chaos, anger, personal attacks. But I'm going to operate out of faith, out of truth, out of honor, because leadership should always lift people up. Leadership should always be about collaboration and not chaos. Leadership should always be about doing the next right thing. And so I'm asking God that my words will reflect that in public service. Um, and I'll point out differences. I'm going to point out facts. I'm going to be clear and firm, but it's not going to be based on uh, being something that I'm not. And the voters get to choose. I'm interviewing for the job. I think I may have said this already, but I the first time I got introduced as a candidate a few days ago, I got up and said, they want to say, who are you running against? I'm like, I'm not running against anybody. I'm interviewing for the job. And so I want people, when I ran for justice of the peace, I did not have the establishment. I did not have huge endorsements. I was outspent. I was out mailed. I was out advertised. But none of that mattered because I believe what matters is the people that are going to take the time to watch this video. I think that's what matters. And I will, but I won't be outworked. Now I still have my job. I still got statutory things I have to do. And so, but I'm going to do this. And so I believe there's 800,000 people in this county, 400,000 plus registered voters. And I'm asking for people to support us. I'm asking for people to come out and help us. I'm asking for people to give me the privilege of continuing my 40 years of service, continue the service, and recognize that I'm doing this because I feel called to do it. I feel called. It's a special time for our county. And I think integrity matters. I think character matters. I think doing the right thing when nobody's looking matters. I think that um, we should we should we should believe with all my heart that we can win this with grassroots if people will get out and vote. And WayneMack.org if for the information about who we are and what we're doing. If you want to join us, people ask me, what do you need? I said, I need prayer and I need poll workers. And I believe God's going to give the increase. And so I'm asking for the privilege tonight, today rather, and in the next 80 days, that I want to be the Montgomery County Republican conservative servant county judge for Montgomery County. And I hope you'll come out and vote. Early voting February 17th through the 27th, and election day March 3rd. Get out and vote. Bring your friends, bring your family. If we want to keep Montgomery County red, you have to activate. You can't sit home and complain. And if you expect the same thing, keep doing the same thing, expect a different result. That's the definition of insanity. And our county's not insane. We got a lot of smart people, but we need to activate and do the right thing.
All righty. Well, thank you for coming in, for participating, answering the questionnaire and the interview, and good luck on your campaign.
Thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you.